Hey there, YouTube. Good to see ya. Welcome back to part 3 of this What If. As always, if you want to follow along or read ahead, especially since I just released chapter 21 of WildFlowers, click the link to follow along. And if you have enjoyed the first 2 parts of this What If, and the many more that are to come, and you haven't already subscribed, why not think about it? And hit that notification bell so you can keep up to date when I release new parts or videos. Now, let's get on to the next part. Blake scowled at where Naruto had taken them. After explaining a few things last night in a small abandoned building they took shelter in, he was still clueless about things she had thought that would have been quite apparent. He had become very interested in hearing about her thinking about applying to Beacon to become a huntress. For what felt like the 100th time, she had to ask how. How does someone not know what a huntress or huntsman was? And when did she explain that to him? Well, they were here now, in a small hub that huntsmen and huntresses would congregate in to collect missions and talk. She felt out of place, with a few of them oddly glancing at them like they didn't belong. These jobs aren't meant for us, Blake conveyed the issue she felt as she looked at the hollow boards, seeing the job listings scattered. Naruto tilted his head and frowned at her while jotting down a few notes on a blank scroll. He cursed a few times. Struggling at writing with his left hand was unnatural. Then how do we make money? We need, lean? To afford proper supplies and some food besides fish. I don't know about you, but I need something other than that. Maybe you do, Blake muttered, looking away with a scowl. Naruto twitched. This girl had an addiction to fish like he had to ramen. And that was an impressive feat. And now she was brooding because he wanted more variety. Was this what it felt like for everyone else when they tried to kick his ramen addiction? Her brooding glare was starting to remind him of that time he took Sasuke's onigiri away from him to get back at the brooding Uchiha. Remind me not to get you any onigiri, Naruto mumbled to himself. Blake's ears perked curiously. I love onigiri, that lovely fish filling. Ah, are you two somehow distantly related? Naruto blandly responded with a flat face, staring at her in wonder as she told the tales of how great onigiri was. Shaking that thought as Blake finished her narrative, Naruto turned his focus back onto the task at hand. He grinned at everything he had written down. Well, nothing says that someone other than these huntsmen or huntsmen can do the jobs. All we have to do is find someone that can nab us a quick score, as we're only looking for enough to get by. Taking out some of these, Grim should be enough? Take the head of one of these things, bring it back. You genuinely don't know, do you? Blake lowered at Naruto, beginning to believe he had no clue about anything, and she couldn't comprehend how. Grim dissolve into smoke when they died. There is no bringing back something to show the job was done. Huntsmen use special beacons in their scrolls that they are given to mark a mission as complete the moment a Grim is taken care of, or to call it in if there's a reception where they are. Unfortunately, that isn't always possible. What? They what now? Naruto was astonished, having only recently come across things of a similar nature. And even then, something was left behind. Now that throws a wrench into my plans. Can't exactly live off the land and do jobs with my skill set if I can't accept them. Gah, that's annoying. It's almost like they don't want anyone outside of specific people to help. It's not that simple, kid, a gruff voice called out. Blake winced, knowing it was one of the huntsmen who had been leering at their presence before, and now she was worried. They could be less than welcoming, and she knew that. She had seen it time and time before, especially to her kind. A couple of kids acting like they owned the place could only aggravate them. But Naruto didn't seem to act like he cared in the slightest, turning to face the burly huntsman, looking up and meeting his gaze without a single shred of care. Sounds like it should be, if Grim are that much of a problem. Anyone willing to help should be offered a fair share of the deal. Are you serious right now? The taller huntsman with a large cleaver-like weapon strapped on his back glanced incredulously at Naruto. Grim that are put on these boards aren't for show, kid. Yeah, others can kill Grim. That happens all the time. The ones put on here are the ones causing havoc and running amok. Some are more dangerous than others, but all are violent and capable of putting an end to anyone without preparation and adequate skill. You're just running to your death, kid. Nah, I'll be just fine. Naruto waved it off with his stump of an arm, frowning as he still wasn't used to being without one. Gah, stupid. Anyways, I dealt with way worse than anything that can be thrown at me here, so I can handle it. Just need to find a way back, make a few bucks so I can get my way back home, or at least figure out how the way to get back there. Blake's ears perked before she tucked her head away dejectedly. He was looking for a way home? Her heart pinged with sorrow as her thoughts came to her home and how she wanted to return. But, scowling, the man put his hand on Naruto's shoulders and looked at him directly. Look, I'm doing this for your own good, kid. You can't do this. Go home and train up. You aren't ready. I've been told that all my life that I'm not good enough. Naruto's features had turned for the first time. Blake had seen the muscles tightening in the jawline and the glistening of raw determination glinting from his eyes. People have constantly doubted me, put me down, said I'm not good enough, looked down at me for my dreams, and all I've done in my life is go out, work as hard as possible to prove them wrong. Nothing has stood in my path on my journey, neither will you. So if you would kindly take your hand off me, I have somewhere to be. Naruto's voice lowered a decibel. His gaze shone cerulean. Blake's hair stood on end, her ears standing straight, and her body was tense. Where did this come from? This goofball she had been hanging with had this side to him? This kind of intensity? She knew he was strong, as he had done something she had never seen before and stopped Adam's moon slice, even if it wasn't charged, and destroyed Wilton Blush with a single blow with his odd weapon that he could summon at will. She knew he was capable, but he was struggling to adjust without one arm, and it seemed he had lost his dominant arm. He was taking things he had done before for granted. Watching him wave just now was proof enough. The taller huntsman, peering into Naruto's gaze, felt something impress upon him as he nervously started to sweat. Pulling back his hand, he stumbled as he stepped back, unsure of what he was feeling. Suddenly Naruto grinned, patting the man on his shoulder with his one arm as he walked by. He called for Blake with a chipper tone. Blake, you got any ideas how we collect on a bounty for these Grim? I also copied for a few for some of the criminals, which should be easier as we can bring them in, but they're not worth as much. Snapping out of her frigid state, not wanting to be in here, Blake was quickly at Naruto's side. She was still awkwardly gazing at him, wondering where that intensity had come from, but she put it in the back of her mind for now, seeing the smile she had come to know from him plastered on his face. She would have to think about it later and ask him, once they were better acquainted, whether he was comfortable or not. Or when he was comfortable. Ohm knew she wasn't willing to answer any questions he asked her that she wasn't comfortable with. Puckering her lips at the thought as they walked from the station, thankfully leaving it and the awkwardness behind, Blake glanced at the locations he had written and the names he had taken. Her eyes dangerously narrowed at one of them that was taken. Did he realize whose name that was? Or did he take it full well knowing? Taking a breath, Blake would put it aside for now. She would ask about it later when there was time. For now, they were hunting Grim. For the Grim, I would think it would be wise to take video evidence. It's rare, but sometimes mercenaries do cash in on Grim bounties, and I would guess they would have to have some physical evidence that they did it. So that would be my guess. Great, where do we buy a video camera? Naruto exhaled, rolling his eyes and deflating as this world would be tougher than he had thought. No need, Blake smirked, pulling out her scroll, and Naruto curiously glanced at the small gadget, unsure what she planned on doing with it, as she pointed it straight at Naruto. This also has to happen to have a camera feature, so recording is something it is more than capable of. Just with a small touch here, and ta-da! You're on camera. What? Naruto took the scroll from Blake, eyes nearly coming out of their sockets as he looked at the small screen and saw it was taking in the information. It's a recorder, too? Damn, this is amazing. This small device can do so many things. I give up. Blake closed her eyes and waved her hands in the air with a sigh. I don't know how you don't know these things, but it's clear that you're not around from here. Her eyes shifted and Blake fidgeted meekly, a thought crossing her mind. But it does sound nice, whatever backwater place you came from. Not having to deal with everything. A place where you don't have to worry. Oh, now that's something. Naruto grinned as he held the scroll at a specific angle, a certain gleam in his eyes, and he had a confident grin that suddenly had Blake on the defensive. Jiraiya would kill for this device. Think of all the research he could have done with it. May his soul rest in the pure world. Where are you pointing that at? Blake roared, her eyes sharpening as she snapped her scroll out of Naruto's hands. You. This is the part you're supposed to be hitting me. Naruto frowned, tilting his head at the scarlet faunus. Hand covering her rear, she looked at him indignantly. Stop acting so juvenile, Blake snapped, gnashing her teeth, flushed as a tomato. I'm not gonna play into your game. So grow up, I'm not 12. Now give me your coat. Okay, Naruto shrank, intimidated and lightly insulted at her insinuation before sliding off his tattered coat for her. It's only meant to be a game. Well, now I feel insecure, thanks, Blake hissed, still vividly flushed, taking and tying his coat around her waist to ensure her behind was covered. Once she was satisfied, she crossed her arms over her chest and with a huff, turned and moved forward. However, she warily kept her eye on Naruto, ensuring his eyes were held upward. She couldn't believe him. Recording her with her own scroll? The nerve. So juvenile. So arrogant. And why couldn't she get the thought of him looking out of her head? It bothered her. But somewhere there was just some part in her that... There's a farming village around here somewhere, Blake frowned, glancing at the map on her scroll. It's not that far. Over that hill, Naruto pointed out in the distance after opening his eyes. Blake looked up from her scroll, frowning as she noted the direction Naruto was pointing. How do you know that? Out of everything you don't know, you know where this village is? I can feel where they're at, Naruto said with a slight smile. Something I recently picked up on. Makes locating people easy. You could feel where people are? Blake clamored, ears perking inquisitively. But you have those aura. What is your semblance? This doesn't make sense. Aura doesn't work in this manner. My what now? Naruto stopped, raising a curious eyebrow, unsure of what she was talking about. I have never heard of anything you just said. What do you mean you never heard of? Blake's ears pinned back, eyes narrowed as she couldn't believe what she was hearing before they suddenly lifted, a sound catching her attention, and she looked around carefully. Don't draw their attention and alert them that we're aware of that. We know they're there, Naruto whispered, knowing she would hear it with her sensitive hearing. Blake's attention returned to the relaxed form of Naruto as he strolled on the forested hill. Had sensed it for a while. Gotta say, they're better than I thought, as I thought you would have heard them earlier. But they've been covering their tracks pretty well, it seems. Huntsmen and huntresses are better than I give them credit for. Blake scowled as her nerves began to settle in. Were they after her? Was it a mistake for her to go to the hub with Naruto so close to the train bombing after it happened? She knew she wasn't a known member of the White Fang, but she may have been distinguished enough and seen at Adam's side sufficiently to warrant. Are you okay? Naruto's voice carried a tender tone, his eyes now glancing back at the huntsmen and huntresses. Noticing her tenseness with a slight pulse of Kurama's yin chakra, Naruto kept frowning, feeling the negativity oozing from her. You look worried. Something the matter? How are you not worried? Blake took her ire out on him, seething and trying not to bite her tongue. These are huntsmen, not just random mercenaries or thugs, but people trained to do their best and protect Remnant from the Grim first and foremost. It's not often they get bested, and when they do, it's newsworthy material. I know because it's been happening a lot here in Vale, as the crime kingpin has been making fools of many of them. So they're not as infallible as you think they are, Naruto grinned, further agitating Blake before keeping his intent focused forward. Well, I wouldn't worry too much. I don't feel any ill intent coming from him. Probably making sure these stupid kids don't get it over their heads or something like that. Well, whatever. They want a show, they're about to get one. It comes, Naruto broadly grinned as he stopped, gazing upwards with a cocky grin on his face. Feeling a pulse from Kurama within, glad he still had something of the fox. What? Blake could hear the rushing currents, and her eyes widened as she looked above. In horror, she saw what was swooping down from above. A Nevermore? An Alpha Nevermore with a murder of little ones? As it swooped overhead, the wind pressure nearly swept Blake off her feet. Dozens of small Nevermores scattered from the Alpha, swarming down and diving towards them. Wait, it isn't a Grim? I'm so confused! Naruto shouted, going more confused than worried. Huh? Yes it is! Ah! Why do you not know these things? Blake screeched, drawing Gamboy's shroud, shifting it to its pistol mode as she aimed up at the swooping tiny Nevermores. Just shut up and fight! You dragged me into this! This drew his attention briefly as he took out a few of the flock, a few of the murder, Naruto supposed, with some shuriken. The weapon transformation was interesting. He thought it was a simple wakizashi, an odd one, but suddenly it was this handheld weapon capable of firing projectiles and sniping the black and white birds out of the sky. Was it also a gun? And killing them in a single shot of its head, if it hit him in the head? It intrigued Naruto, but not enough to lose focus. Blake could handle the little ones. They were fodder anyways. Nah, he wanted Mama. So this is a Grim, huh? Naruto smirked as the small Nevermores closed in, focusing on the big bird as it slowly flapped overhead, seemingly unaware of what happened below as its murder took care of the fighting. Not so intimidating. Looks like a big ol' summon to me. Hey, Blake! Betcha I can take that thing out with a single strike. You're joking, right? Blake narrowed her eyes before she looked stumped, seeing Naruto effortlessly bat away a single Nevermore, and it turned to smoke as it collided with the ground. If your stick or orb can take that thing out with a mere hit, I'd be impressed. Nah, that would be overkill. Don't want to destroy everything around here. Naruto grinned brilliantly as he tightened his left fist, cracking his neck back and forth. I only used the truth-seeking orb when we first met, since I really couldn't move all that much. I would have stuck to something more basic if I could have, as those things pack way too much of a punch for that kind of situation. I wasn't trying to kill your friend, just trying to make him listen. So I was holding back as much as I could with him. You were holding back! Blake narrowed her eyes, switching her weapon into her sword form, quickly jumping away as a Nevermore dove to where she was. Blake flipped and landed, crouched in the base of a tree. You were nearly dead and you were still holding back? Launching back, she sliced through the tiny bird before shifting its form back, gripping the ribbon and catching Naruto's attention once more as she began using the weapon like a Kusurigama, whipping it around her, slicing the birds, getting too close. It was a marvelous and versatile weapon. You wanted to know more about it. He sort of wanted one for himself. For that attack? Yes, Naruto exclaimed, cutting down a few more Nevermore with a couple more shuriken. Otherwise, I really wasn't able to move. It was the only thing I could think to do. Blake gnashed her teeth. Her eyes glistened with discontent. Attack? He made it sound like he had more than one ability. How was that possible? How versatile was his semblance to work like it did? Snapping back into focus, Naruto looked up. Getting rid of Mama should do the trick. I think a tried and true favorite will get the trick done here. Naruto thought about it for a second, and then bent his knees, predicting the bird's movements, and grinned. And here we go. What do you... Whoa! Blake nearly fell flat on her face from the shockwave. Her eyes widened as she fell onto her knees and looked up into the sky, as Naruto leapt high and above the bird. Are you kidding me right now? This doesn't make any sense. With a single leap, many of the smaller Nevermore in the sky were suddenly plummeting, unable to keep flying as the pulse of wind pressure knocked them off balance, courtesy of Naruto. His eyes glimmered as he held out his left hand, chakra flowing smoothly, spiraling in the palm of his hand. The air flowing through the locks of his hair felt terrific, and it felt much cleaner up here than it did in the city, but it still wasn't quite up to par what he was used to. Something wasn't right here, wherever here was. He had to figure it out soon so he could get back home, but he knew money was his priority. Had to be able to sustain himself by taking odd jobs while looking for a way back, something Jiraiya had taught him on their trip. One of the valuable lessons he had to admit. So he was taking it to heart and glad that their journey to help him become more manly had some benefits after all. Coming in hot! Naruto gleamed, his cerulean eyes shining, as he extended his left hand and flew straight towards the Alpha Nevermore, and its open... Whoa, 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 whoa! I'm not for dinner, change of direction! In a plume of smoke, something he did out of sheer instinct as Naruto had mastered the technique like no one before him. A clone gripped his wrist and tossed him over the Nevermore's head as it clamped its beak shut. Naruto flipped down onto its skull, trying to land, and let out a sigh of relief as he did. He moved to wipe the bead of sweat off his forehead before screaming in frustration, as he had moved his right arm. Are you... Sasuke, I hate you so much right now. I want my arm back. Stupid bird, eat this! Naruto roared, his frustration hitting its peak as he drove the spiraling blue ball into the grim as it desperately rolled, but could not get the shinobi off its head. And he struck it with his chakra and drove the attack home. An erosion of smoke and chakra ripped through the sky, scattering the Nevermore to dust. Its head collapsed under its piercing pressure, unable to withstand it, and dissolved, its body quickly dissipating, leaving Naruto in a predicament for anyone else as they careened back to the earth below. However, for Naruto, it was just another day. He flipped back onto his feet, landing in a crouch despite the immense drop, and stood back up as if nothing ever happened. He walked it off as if the landing weren't an issue, heading to where Blake was, handling the rest of the Nevermore, grinding her teeth as the flock was still an issue. Naruto simply called out, "Mama bird down!" "I see that!" Blake roared, her eye glistening with raw fury as the small Nevermore continued to swoop around her. Nearly pecked her ear, but she managed to roll, bounce back, and slice through it with her sheath that Naruto recognized also doubled as a blade. "Mind helping me with the rest of these nuisances while the so-called huntsmen sit on their ass? I am so done with this day. Done with this. Done with you. Your bullshit. I'm done with it all. I just want to go home." A bead of sweat fell on the back of Naruto's head as he saw Blake's position before quickly drawing a kunai and moving in for assistance. Yeah, sorry about that. My bad. Shouldn't have left you down here alone." "What is your semblance? What do you mean clones? Why can you do so many different things? This doesn't make sense." "I told you I don't understand what that means. Is semblance like a bloodline limit or something? I don't have one of those." Blake's shriek was heard throughout Remnant. "I am so done with you." "I gotta say, never seen anything like that before, kid." The burly huntsman rubbed the back of his neck, handing a card to Naruto along with a scroll. "You sure don't want to apply to one of the Huntsman Academies? Haven could use someone like you, especially with the skills you just showed. And after the Pride of Mistral decided to come here to Beacon, it would be a boon for sure. You'd surely be a top student and become a renowned huntsman under Leonardo's tutelage." Blake twitched as she sat in her seat in the Oriental restaurant, muttering to herself. They thought he could butter her up now after the incident. She was still so annoyed with everything that had happened. Naruto was just an enigma. And those huntsmen, they just sat around and did nothing. They watched them, letting them take on the Grim as a test to see if they were capable. The nerve. Weren't they supposed to protect and serve people? Oh, she hated people like them. Even if he was now paying for this meal and had helped open an account for Naruto, and had gotten him a scroll, how he could have helped when it mattered the most? Nah, I'm just trying to get home. Naruto had a toothy grin as he closed his eyes and chuckled. Just doing jobs like this so I can have the cash in my pocket while I search and figure out where I am. Gotta make a living, so I can afford to travel. Well, I can't say I don't blame you, and I can understand that. Home is where the heart is, I hear ya. The gruff man let out a hearty laugh before placing a thoughtful hand on his chin. But I must say, I've never heard of your home before. Though, new villages do pop up fairly often with how many people are disenfranchised with the kingdoms. So I wouldn't be all too surprised if it is out there somewhere, and you just got lost here in Sonus. I'll put out a few feelers with my connections and see what I can come up with. I'll contact you later. Thanks, appreciate that and everything you've done today. Guess it's true, even after first meetings, you can't judge a book by its cover. Naruto grinned as the two shared a wave, while the man took his leave and before Naruto returned to a crestfallen Blake, her ears lying flat on her head. You doing okay? You look... What? Oh, I'm fine, Blake replied, startled by his sudden appearance. Listening to their conversation had had her thoughts turned to home. I was just thinking about going home too. Naruto took a seat with a soft expression. He had the sense she was listening to their conversation, and when she flinched, Naruto knew he was right. Why don't you? If you have family or friends waiting for you back home, I'm sure they'll be ecstatic to see you. It's not that simple, Blake growled before lowering her head, her gaze glistening as she looked downward. I can't. Not with them. With him looking for me. A look of recognition dawned on Naruto, his gaze glimmering over her for a moment before he softly smiled. That's why you were trying to talk some sense into him. You've known him for quite some time, haven't you? Yes, Blake acknowledged it, feeling there was no need to hide the truth. I've known him since I was around 10, when he first came into our organization, injured and homeless. He was always so perseverant, able to overcome everything put in front of him, no matter the task. Yet, ever since I known him, his heart was always full of hatred, being swallowed slowly by it until he had become what you saw when you were conscious. Huh. Sounds like someone I know, Naruto muttered, having another strong sense of deja vu that he couldn't shake the feeling of. So, I have to ask you this, along with many other questions that have been eating away at me. This sort of takes priority. Blake's eyes rose and gazed into Naruto's, an intensity he hadn't seen within shining through. When you took the names from the board, did you purposely take his name, knowing who he was? Were you mocking me by going after him? Is this some kind of joke to you? What? Whoa, hang on, no. Naruto was immediately defensive, shaking his head and his eyes wide. While I recognized I took someone's named Adam, I didn't realize it was the same person. Oh, you're a criminal, aren't you? Quiet! Blake hissed, her eyes glimmering, putting her hand over Naruto's mouth as she bit her lip, before looking despondent, taking her hand off of his mouth. Yes, okay, I was. The White Fang is now a terrorist organization, but that isn't what it originally started as, okay? I joined because I wanted to make a difference. Like how my father and mother originally did when they started it. Not realizing what it had evolved into, and what Sienna and Adam had turned it into. Seeing the look in her eyes, understanding the pain in her heart, knowing there was more to it, Naruto called over the waitress. Hey, can we get an order here? I'd like to have a bowl of miso ramen, and she would like a plate of onigiri. As the waitress nodded and took the order, Blake's ears perked, before she squinted at Naruto with a frown. Naruto simply flashed a grin at her. Hey, sounds like we have a long story to be told, and I want to be prepared as I want to listen and hear you out. Since you expressed you liked them earlier, I just wanted to make sure you were comfortable while you shared. Naruto flashed his dazzling smile at Blake, causing her to flush. Blake then glowered, turned away, and crossed her arms. Memories of earlier arose, and she was not amused, nor had she forgiven him. And what makes you think I want to talk about it? You don't have to. Not gonna force you. I got a lot I'm not saying either, as I don't want to say anything. But we gotta start somewhere, Naruto shrugged before earnestly started staring directly at Blake. You've helped me out quite a bit since I came here. Kept me informed about everything I wasn't aware of, and I thank you for that. So if there's something I can do to assist you, just name it. Gazing at Naruto, her head held tilted, Blake tucked her tucked her head. Despite all the negativity she was bringing with her, he was still thanking her? He still wanted to help her? No, she couldn't involve someone else in her problems. This was her issue to solve. But just name it, huh? Blake held a distant gaze in her eyes before a gentle smile spread on her lips. We barely know each other and you're willing to do such a thing for me? Heck yeah, I would, Naruto grinned foolishly as the waitress returned with a bowl of ramen and a plate of onigiri. You helped me out, helped get me out of the hospital when I possibly could have died. You've been a big help in telling me things I otherwise wouldn't know, and honestly, I don't like admitting this, I have needed a little help adjusting with only one hand. Sort of been rough, and you've really been helpful. So yeah, I'll do whatever I can to help you. Name it, I'll do it. You are an odd one, you know that? Not many people are like that in this day and age. Blake glanced quizzically at him before returning the smile. It's almost refreshing to see. Wish more people were like that. Naruto chuckled as he scratched the back of his head, noting the small sparkles twinkling in Blake's eyes as she stared with a small amount of drool leaking out of the corner of her lips, noticing the onigiri on her plate. Naruto couldn't help but laugh. Yeah, heard that a few times before. Been told I go a little too far sometimes. Blake's ears perked as she slowly reached towards the onigiri. She temporarily took her attention from the food, finding this conversation to be more important. Is that so? Well, there is something I do want. Name it, Naruto replied. To know more about you, Blake said, sitting up straight and gazing directly into Naruto's eyes with a confused stare. Ever since you've shown up, all you've done is confuse me. Why don't you know things, yet the way you act and the way I feel so comfortable around you for some unknown reason bothers me. I want to understand you better, so maybe hearing more about you would help. And perhaps, maybe explain a few things for the both of us. Naruto frowned at the cat fondness. That was not a request he had expected, or wanted to, for as friendly as he was, he had learned better than to blab about his secrets to just anyone. But seeing that look on her face and thinking about it, he didn't have to tell her everything, just talk about himself. That he could do. He could avoid any secrets, he was sure of that. Well, I guess I don't mind too much, given everything you've done for me so far. Naruto gave a side nod, before a wicked idea popped into his mind, and he acted upon it. But under one condition. Condition? What condition? Blake, distracted by her onigiri, looked back at Naruto. Naruto only grinned as he reached over. This is mine now. No takebacks. Blake's wail of agony was heard throughout the restaurant as she face planted and cried into the table. No! And that's a wrap. That's the third part here. I hope you enjoyed. If you've been liking this story so far, give it a like and maybe subscribe. If you like my content, there should be a video on the screen to check out more. Alright, that's going to do it for now, my friends. Take care and stay safe out there. Peace.